Merry Christmas in July, everyone. Here are 25 DIYs to help inspire you for the greatest season of all. This project turned out amazing. I love it so much and I cannot wait for Christmas this year. So I had this piece of wood sitting in my stash and I don't even remember why I have it. It's been that long. So I decided to stain it, and I stained the front and the back with Minwax stain in the color Early American because that color is so perfect all the time, am I right? Anyway, I'm always trying to figure out how to hang all my family stockings because we don't have a cute fireplace or any place that really is just that perfect setup for stockings. So every year I end up doing something different, and every year I hope to figure out a solution, and I think this is it. Well, this piece of wood turned out to be the perfect size for all of my stockings. It was literally like it was made for it. So I just measured out and I marked where I would place my hooks. I had some hooks in my toolbox, and they are just simple, inexpensive screw-in hooks that you can purchase anywhere. I think I actually got mine from Walmart. But as I was placing them on the board, I actually realized that I had bought a pack of brass colored ones a while back, and those ones would match even more. So naturally, I switched them out.
Dashing through the snow in a one-horse open sleigh. O'er the fields we go, laughing all the way. Bells on bobtail ring, making spirits bright. What fun it is to ride.
I had some large picks and berries from Michael's that I purchased on clearance last year, and well, maybe they're more like branches, but because they're like super large. But in total, I think it only cost me around $10 for all of them, and they do carry them every year. However, they won't be on clearance. I actually bought them because they look just like the Christmas tree cuttings that I picked up last year to style above my stockings. This is all super coming together right now, and it's like super exciting. I bent in the ends and then stapled them in place with this electric stapler, which secured them extremely well. Then I broke apart the berries and then I hot glued them in place where I wanted them.
Sing a sleighing song tonight. Oh, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Hey, jingle bells, jingle.
Next, I made this bow out of some ribbon that I have from Hobby Lobby in my stash, and they actually carry this ribbon all year long as well.
Jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. A day or two ago, I thought I'd take a ride, and soon Miss Fanny Bride was seated by my side. The horse was lean and lame. Misfortune seemed his lot.
On the back, I placed 2 triangle hooks to hang it on the wall, and it is almost ready to be tested out.
He got into a drifted bank and then we got upset. Oh, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse.
The only thing missing from this project was some name tags for the stockings. So I grabbed a few of these small wooden slices that I had from last Christmas. I actually bought them at a really good price on Amazon to make some ornaments, and I'll link those in the description box below if you're in the market for some. So I tried my best at some trendy printing with a pencil, and then I went over it with a black paint marker, and now it is ready to test out. Check it out! Oh my goodness, I just can't with the cuteness. Please tell me what you think.
Sleigh. Hey, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh.
This project turned out pretty cute. It was a 99-cent store sign. I paid $1.99 for it, but I also made a decal with my Cricut, and then I just painted it with Waverly paint in the color crimson. I did not wait until the paint dried. So as you can see, I ran into some trouble getting the decals to adhere, but eventually I prevailed and the sign turned out great. And then this one was a super quick piece and it served its purpose well. It was so simple. I literally just spray painted a Dollar Tree pie pan and candle holder with some bronze spray paint and then glued them together using a combination of hot glue and E6000 glue, and then threw in some pine cones and some holly, and voila, perfection. So for the past 2 years, I have wanted to make a custom doormat. And last year I saw this wording and I said, man, I need to have that next year. So I am attempting to make my own doormat this year, but I have no idea what I'm doing. So I bought a mat from IKEA and I taped off the border with painter's tape. Then I took some black apple barrel outdoor paint and I started to blot the paint into the desired area. But oh man, that is super time consuming.
On a big piece.
Sorry for that interruption. So I got impatient and I looked in my paint stash and I saw that I had a can of black high temperature paint. I used it on a fire pit last year and I just thought, well, what do I have to lose? Let's just see how this holds up. And so I took the whole project outside and I decided to spray it up. I made a decal using my Cricut and I used just some scrap green Oracle 650 vinyl to make the stencil. I weeded it and I placed the decal where I wanted. I attempted to use this hairdryer to secure the stencil in place, but it kept blowing all the pieces away, so I just nixed that idea, and I just thought, I'm just gonna go for it. So I just sprayed over the stencil, and it turned out actually so good, you guys. It was amazing. I was shocked. So other than the fact that I was a little sloppy around the edges with not covering it completely, it's hardly noticeable in person, and I think this doormat's awesome. It totally brings such joy to my heart. I cannot wait for Christmas, and given all the circumstances this year, I may decorate this sooner. I may throw this out right now and just keep it till Christmas. I don't know. But the entire project only took about 30 minutes total once I started using spray paint, just FYI. My second project is another item that I saw a couple years ago, and I thought, this is me to a T. So because I already have a Cricut, I decided I was just going to make one. I literally have like 4 t-shirts from the Dollar Tree that I found months and months ago, and I just thought, wow, for $1, I'm just going to snatch all these up and we'll see what happens. So I think this green color is the perfect color for this piece, but it has this tiny little hole in it, but that's no problem. I preheated the shirt. I made a crease down the center and I placed the decal. I spaced out the little popcorn pieces I have there, and I just used that to cover the whole piece, and voila. And excuse me again, I'm getting summoned. So I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you enjoyed the decals. I am going to try to put them up on Etsy, but I am having a little bit of difficulties trying to get the vectors up on Etsy. I'm just not familiar with it, so I'm trying to learn something new, and it takes a little bit of time. I just don't want to disappoint people if they're going on there to purchase an item and then it doesn't work. That would be horrible. So hopefully we'll get that done. I am using scrapbook paper from Michaels and letters from Michaels as well, actually. I got these a couple years ago, but they do still have stuff that's very similar. I've just been waiting forever to do this project, so I'm super excited to finally do it. So I am just outlining it onto the scrapbook paper, and then I also got these squares from Michaels, and I'm also going to trace the tops with the scrapbook paper, and I'm just going to cut those out, and then I'm going to Mod Podge them onto the surfaces. I'm just going to say, I don't know who I heard this tip from. It was recent, so somebody recently, I was watching a video and they gave this tip about spraying your scrapbook paper with water before you put it onto the wood. And it works really well. I have never done that before, nor have I ever even thought to spray my paper with water, but it works really well. So then, of course, after that, after it dried, I took more Mod Podge and just sealed it off with the Mod Podge. Mod Podge. Everybody messes that up. So funny. So I found this giant jingle bell at Target. I think it was last year. You can find them anywhere. But I also just took a piece of sandpaper and I wanted it to look worn and weathered. So I just, roughed it up a bit until I thought it was beautiful. After that, I also took the sandpaper and went around the edges of each of the letters once they were dry. This is how I not only distress, but I also get rid of the excess paper that maybe overhangs. It always makes it a smooth edge and just kills 2 birds with 1 stone, and I'm all about cutting corners. So, yeah. So recently I saw some home decor at somewhere, and the edges were lined with jute string, so I thought I would add that element to my decor piece because I really liked it. It made it really cute. So I took this jute string that I get at Walmart, and I like the one at Walmart. I've said this before, but I really like the one at Walmart because it's a little bit thicker, and it makes everything look really nice. It's not too thick, it's not too thin, it's perfect. So I took this. I do not put the jute string all the way around because I want it to be able to stand. So I just cut off at the bottom, and then I just keep going around until I have covered the edges. For the little squares, I did the same thing with the jute string, but this time I just started at the top, and I just keep making my way around the square until I get to the base. Super simple. When I flipped these over, I noticed that the back looked kind of, I don't know, just undone. It didn't look complete. So I just took some black paint, some apple barrel black paint, and I'm just painting the back of it so that it just looks more professionally made rather than something I DIY'd. To give it a little added stability, I just took some of these tumbling tower blocks and I painted them with the same apple barrel paint in black, and then I'm going to hot glue them to the letters again, to give it more stability when it's standing. I don't want anyone knocking down my joy. I got this ribbon at Hobby Lobby a couple years back, and they still had it last year. I'm pretty sure they'll probably have it this year. It kind of seems like it's a really popular wreath type ribbon. But anyway, it's really cute ribbon. It's a wired ribbon, so it's really nice for this piece. And then I'm just securing it with a pipe cleaner because the pipe cleaner will be easy to put into that little hole on the top of the bell. And I'm just doing it like that. Just because of the design of this bow and just the way the ribbon is, I was kind of stumped a little bit on what to do in the middle. So I ended up just wrapping it in jute string, and it looked super cute, super country, and that was kind of the look I was going for. So very cute. I was very satisfied.
Dashing through the snow in a one-horse open sleigh. O'er the fields we go, laughing all the way. Bells on bobtail ring, making spirits bright. What fun it is to ride and sing a sleighing song tonight. Oh, jingle bells.
Here I just took those two square pieces and I'm making the base for the bell. So I am just going to hot glue and use E6000 to, or actually maybe I was just using hot glue. Whoops. But anyway, so I just secured them together with hot glue, and then I'm going to secure the bell to the base with hot glue and E6000 so that it stays put.
Oh, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Hey, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh.
So this craft is probably my favorite thing I think I've ever made. So I am taking some wood stain by Minwax in the color Early American. That is just the best color. And I'm staining all the wood on this chalkboard. It's like a framed chalkboard, standing chalkboard. I got it from Dollar Tree. And then two of those very popular wooden boxes, drawers. I'm sorry, I don't know what I want to say. After the stain dried, I'm using the same scrapbook paper that I used on my last project to cut out some squares for the sides and the inside of this box. And I'm really not feeling like I want to cut today, so I'm going to try a new trick. Ah, that's better. Next, I'm just trimming a couple of the squares because I failed to realize that the inside of the square is smaller than the outside. Duh. So just did that, and now I am using some Mod Podge to secure the paper to the sides. I am actually going to put a piece of scrapbook paper on each of the sides and the back, as well as the back panel of the inside of the drawer. I hope I didn't lose you there.
Jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. A day or two ago, I thought.
Next, I am sanding away the edges, and I'm doing this very roughly. I really like the worn and weathered look, so I'm not being delicate at all. And I'm just roughing up the edges, and like I said, it also gives it a very nice finish to the edges so that the paper is not sticking out of the sides and looking tacky.
I'd take a ride, and soon Miss Fanny Bride was seated by my side. The horse was lean and lame, misfortune seemed his lot.
Next, I'm using 2 of these small hooks, but I didn't like the nickel color, so I'm going to take them outside and spray paint them bronze. And here, I thought I was doing myself a favor by roughing up the, what is it called, breaking in the chalkboard, but it did not work, so I'm just going to do that later. I printed this out and designed it on my Cricut, and I will have this available on my Etsy shop, and the link is in the description box. So if you would like this sign, it is there. But I decided to take this sign, I stuck it on, and then I'm using a white paint marker from Michaels. It's just a plain, just simple white chalk, nothing special. It's not even a chalk one, it's just a regular white paint marker. And I'm coloring inside the stencil. This was actually super simple to do. I was really worried there would be bleeding, but there was not. So that's a good thing. And then because it's a paint marker, I felt like it looked too much like a paint marker. You could see the streaks. If you can't see so right now, I could definitely in person tell that it was like a marker. So I had this chalk pen from Dollar Tree, and I've been kind of using it here and there. It's like a big chalk crayon. So I just decided to fill in really roughly inside just to kind of make it look more chalky. Which you can do this or you can skip it, doesn't really matter. It's just your preference. And using my weeding tool, my AKA my dental tools from my previous job, I weeded my design and pulled it off, and voila. And here I'm using just a pencil because I am very nervous with adding decorations when I don't really feel very confident in my drawing abilities. So I kind of played around before I did it, and then I took a green paint marker and went over my pencil markings to make some holly. I found these really cute wooden stickers at Dollar Tree, so I'm using the snowflake here, but as you can see, I'm kind of just fiddling around because I'm really not positive where I want to put it and where the best placement would be. And now I'm taking some chalk, and here is where I am making the chalk details so that it looks more like I have a used chalkboard. Alright, so now we're going to assemble. So I'm taking those 2 drawers, and I am using E6000 and a little bit of hot glue to glue them to the 2 boxes together. So next I took out the 2 drawers, realized that the hooks are a little bit longer than the thickness of the wood, so I needed to add something else to combat that thickness. So I grabbed 2 more of the tumbling tower blocks, and I am staining them with the same Minwax stain in Early American. And then I will adhere those, which is cool because it kind of ended up looking like drawer pulls anyway, so I really liked that addition. So I adhered them to each of the drawers using E6000 and wood glue.
Bells, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Hey, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh.
So these tumbling tower blocks, I'm just going to say, they are the hardest wood I have ever encountered at Dollar Tree. I tried really hard to screw these little hooks in, and they just did not work, so I had to bring in reinforcements. So I grabbed my trusty DeWalt handheld drill. I stinking love this thing. I used it in a previous video, and it is amazing. It helps me in all my little projects. It has this cool little light function. it was a little awkward at first because I didn't know how to use it, and it was just, but it is the most handy tool. It's super compact. They are in no way, shape, or form knowing who I am or sponsoring anything, but I recommend this tool for just everyday household things. It's just such a cool tool. And I love tools. I love tools and gadgets, and that is cool. So anyway, I am now assembling the chalkboard to the drawers, and I'm hot gluing that little piece down. I kind of didn't want to take it off because I didn't want the mark on the back, so I just glued it down, and it looks like it belongs, so it was okay. And then using two more of the tumbling tower blocks, the darker ones, I just adhered those to the drawers, and then I'm going to use some additional glue to adhere it to the chalkboard. And then it secures it all in place, which is nice. That top area was looking a little plain, so I grabbed some wooden beads that I have. I just get these off of Amazon. I will link them below if I can figure out which ones I bought. I'll look in my previous orders and see if I can find the ones that I bought. But they're a really good, decent price, and they're really nice quality. So I did that, and I'm using some more jute string, and I'm just going to make a little tassel decoration. That was a weird way of saying it, but yeah. So I'm just going to, I thought it might be cute to add some wooden beads, give it that little, one of those little tassels, hanging tassel decorations. And I've never really made one, but I have made tassels in the past, so I'm just attempting to do it that way, the same way I've done them in the past. And I do have a video, I will link it above and maybe in the description box if I remember, to a tassel wall hanging, and that's where I learned how to do tassels, and it's super simple. So I will do that, and here I am just measuring out little pieces, and then I'm gonna tie it in the middle and make a tassel.
Oh, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Hey, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh.
Once that tassel decoration was complete, I just hot glued it to my liking, and it added just the perfect little touch to this top area. Don't you think? You would think I'm done, but I'm still not done with this project. I grabbed some of these tags. I picked these up a long time ago from Hobby Lobby, I believe, and they're really inexpensive. I want to say they're like $1.99 for a pack of like 50. Like, they have a really cute, and they're really good quality. So I thought these would be perfect. I was trying to think of what I wanted to hang because I do want this to be an advent calendar. I want this, I was thinking, I have two kids and I don't have a ton of space. So I was thinking this would be the perfect advent calendar because I can just put a prize in each box, and we can do a countdown every day where we change the tags on the front so that they change the date or the days to Christmas, and then I can put a little treat in each of the drawers, and every day they can go and find a little treat, and that'll be really fun. So I'm really proud of this. It's really cute. So now I'm just taking a brush pen from Michael's, and I'm just handwriting to the best of my abilities because I am learning some handwritten letters on each of the tags. And then because two of them were blank on the back, I thought it would be fun for that final day on Christmas Day, to have something Christmassy to have on there. So I went ahead and I decided I was going to write out, "Oh, come let us adore him," since, the reason for the season is Jesus. So I went ahead and did that. For my last project, I am just doing one more joy sign. I'm feeling very joyful. So I'm just using this wreath as a guide for how big I want the O to be, and then I'm using some leftover nautical rope that I bought at Dollar Tree, and I am just hot gluing it in a circle. And honestly, I didn't even really measure out anything. I just used this scrap I already had, and I just kind of went around in a circle till it was done. Next, I'm using the same paper as the other two projects to cut out the J and the Y in the leftover scrapping so they all match. And I did this crooked, so I had to redo it. Don't do that. It's not fun. And then I did the same thing with the Y, and again, I messed up because I had it facing me and I needed to flip it around. So I must have been tired when I did this. And we're going to try that Mary Poppins trick again, and nice. So again, I am using the Mod Podge, and then I'm spraying each of the scrapbook papers with water before I put them on top of the Mod Podge, and that way it is easier to move them around and get them centered properly, and it's just easier all around. And then I am doing the same thing I did in the first project, and I am just sanding the edges, getting rid of the excess that is overhanging, and making it all distressed and beautiful like I like. And then I am using the Mod Podge over the top to seal it. Next, I'm taking that O that I made, and I am just playing around and seeing the placement where I want it. And then I'm going to use some E6000 plus the hot glue, and I'm going to glue it in place. And I feel like I deserve some coffee now, and look at my cute fall coffee mug. Isn't it amazing? I decided I wanted a special coffee mug for every single holiday, and I have so far fall, Thanksgiving-ish, and then I have a Christmas one, which I can't wait to bust out, but technically it's still fall, so I'm going to use my fall cup and enjoy it. Next, I'm going to use this burlap ribbon from Dollar Tree to make a cute little bow to add to the O. I really liked how my other bow came out with the jute string in the middle, so I did that to this bow as well. And finally, I'm using these pieces of some boxwood picks that I had from Walmart, and I am just adding those around the bow. Alright, so I was on crunch mode and I needed a quick gift for a stranger. I grabbed this piece of wood, this slice of wood from Michael's, and I sanded off a picture of my husband and I that was a DIY gone wrong, and then I painted over it with white Waverly chalk paint to give it a fresh base. Then I went on my Cricut and I made a cute little stencil that says, "Oh, come let us adore him." Next, I took some black apple barrel paint and a gold paint, which I believe was also apple barrel paint, and a makeup sponge, and I sponged paint over the stencil like I'm doing here. One thing I should say is that this was, like I said, a super quick put together gift. So here I'm adding a little bit extra sparkle to the stars with some Martha Stewart glitter paint, and I also get that at Michael's. It's really old though, so I don't know if they have it anymore, but yeah. So I took off the stencil and I am just touching up the bleeds with just some white paint, and that is that. This whole thing, including dry time, took less than an hour. It was super simple to put together. When I saw it, I knew what I wanted, and I think it turned out so stinking beautiful. I kind of want to make more and sell them. Yeah, anyway, they're super cute. Anybody can do this. They sell the slices at Michael's for, I think, like $4. Tell me what you think about it in the comments below.
Adore him, Christ the Lord.
Next, I have had these 3 house figures for like a year, and I have not been able to figure out what to do with them. I don't want to copy everybody else and do the home sweet home thing, although that is so cute. And I've been drawing a blank. So I finally was like, okay, I'm just going to start painting and we're going to see where this goes. And I had this idea of a nativity scene. So I thought, let's try it. So I'm mixing together a blue, like a midnight blue paint. I will link it down below or write down what color it is exactly because I don't really remember off the top of my head and I don't want to look for the bottle. So yeah, and I mixed that with some white to get like just a shade that was to my liking, and then I painted the base or the background of each house. Next, I'm taking some Minwax stain in the color Early American, like I love to use on everything, and I am just going over this again. I always do this, but I always put the stain after I do the paint, and that is so the wrong way. So I would definitely recommend, if you're going to try something like this, just always do the stain first, because then you get stain on the paint and you have to touch up the paint, and I just custom made this color, so now I'm going to have to go back and try to color match it, and it's just a big old mess. So always stain first. Done. Anyways, it's okay. It turns out super cute in the end, and that's all that matters. Finally, I went on my Cricut and I designed I threw together a little nativity type of scene. Then I'm using some white Waverly chalk paint to fill in the stencil. And I'm using that Martha Stewart glitter gold paint to do the stars, because they're teeny tiny little stars, and I love just that tiny little glimmer that is a star. I will also add that when I was picturing the design in my head, I was picturing the stencil going all the way to the bottom, and then I didn't cut it that way, so there was a little gap, and so I will fill that in later. But I also forgot that with that last one, the camel is a little to the right, so I'm gonna have to fill him in by hand too, but it's okay, it's a learning process. I wanted this middle one to be extra special because it is the baby Jesus, so I filled in the name Jesus in gold and glitter, as well as the stars. I just wanted it to stand out a little more because it's significant, right? So anyway, also on this middle one, I wanted to also not just add just the manger scene, but I wanted there to be a significant verse that tells the story of the birth of Jesus Christ. So I decided after all of it that I wanted Matthew 1:21. It says, "She will bear a son, and you shall call his name Jesus, for he will save his people from their sins." And I thought that summed up the story so beautifully, and I wanted that to be on my center. So that is the meaning behind that. I will add that I messed up a little bit because my stencil, I did not put a lot of paint in between, so I had to go in by hand and try to fix some of the pieces. So it looks a little sloppy in the middle, but we're just going to roll with it, because actually at the end I thought this was actually a pretty cool piece for just kind of winging it and thinking it through, and it just fell together so beautifully, and I'm super proud. Anyway, so here I'm filling in the camel and the wise man, and it looks a little weird, but to somebody who doesn't know, you won't notice.
Then, like I said, there was that gap on the bottom of all three, so I mixed some just plain brown paint with the same blue, like navy blue, so that it would kind of blend in a little more. I wanted it to kind of have, like, I wanted the colors to be coordinating, I guess. So I did that, and I thought that turned out really nice. It gives it like this perfect darker shade of brown that really goes well because it's obviously the same color blue, so it just turned out really good. So I'm just filling in the bottom like it's dirt, and that filled in that gap and fixed that problem. Then after that was complete, I hot glued and used, I ended up going back and putting E6000 because the hot glue didn't keep it together super well. It kind of popped off a little bit later when I was moving it around. So I went back and put E6000 and hot glue to glue it together so it would have a firm grip. And then lastly, I had these little stars from Dollar Tree, and I added that to the top, and it was just the perfect touch. There is the Northern Star. What? Super awesome. And this is how it turned out. Like, how stinking cute. How stinking cute. I waited for like a year to make a nativity scene out of these houses, and I'm so glad that I kept them.
For this project, I used a wire wreath, some jingle bells. I think I used about 3.5 packages of each color. Some burlap ribbon. I had this left over from Hobby Lobby from last year, but you can get burlap ribbon from the Dollar Tree. This cute plaid ribbon from Dollar Tree, and a hot glue gun. So I started by first wrapping the wire wreath in burlap ribbon. I did this because when I was trying to figure out how I was going to put it together and put the bells on, I didn't like that it looked so spaced out. So I feel that the burlap ribbon fills it in nicely and gives it an extra nice touch. I finished by folding the end into the wreath and hot gluing it in place. Next, I attached the bells. I didn't like how they were lining up at first, so I removed the first few and I started over. That's why you see a couple of glue marks. I found out that if I did one row at a time, and that it spread out nicely and it looked more organized. I realized that at the end it shows 2 red rows, but I ended up covering up that with ribbon at the end and it looked just fine. You will probably want to use a stronger glue like some E6000 glue rather than the hot glue gun, because at the end I did realize that I had to reattach a few of the bells, especially when I went to hang it. So like I said earlier, don't worry about the 2 rows of red because we will cover it up with the ribbon like this. I think this turned out so lovely. I'm just really proud of it. So I measured and cut the plaid ribbon, but I felt that the plaid bow needed a little more, so I added the burlap ribbon to it. I measured out the burlap ribbon, cut it in half, and hot glued both of the pieces to each side of the plaid ribbon, and I think it turned out super cute. To make the bow, I measure the ribbon according to how big I would like the bow to be, and then I pinch the front and back in the middle and wrap some twine around, or you can use ribbon or anything else to secure it. Next, I cut another small piece of ribbon, folded it inward, and wrapped it around the middle and hot glued it in the back. After I secured the bow in place with my hot glue gun, it was done. And I really love this wreath. I cannot say that enough. It turned out exactly how I pictured it in my head, and I am so super excited for the Christmas season now. I can't even. What do you think? I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. I am new and I'm just starting out, but I do plan on making more DIY videos as well as anything else that might pique my interest. So to make this project, you're gonna need a hot glue gun. You'll need some Waverly chalk paints. I picked those up at Walmart. I picked up the colors ivory, crimson, and moss colored. I also have these sponge paintbrushes I prefer to use. I actually picked those up when they're at Michael's for 10 for $1. I got the crates, the wooden crate at the top. I got that from Walmart. It's about $5. I also picked up the mason jars at Walmart, though you can get those at Dollar Tree. I picked up the joy ornament at Walmart. It was less than $2. The wire cutters, I got those off of Amazon, and I can put the link below if you are in the market for some really good wire cutters. They were actually really inexpensive and they work really well. And then I picked up the Christmas picks from Dollar Tree. I picked up 3 of each kind, and I believe the ones on the bottom are hollyberry and the ones on the top are just called branches.
Dashing through the snow in a one-horse open sleigh. O'er the fields we go, laughing all the way. Bells on bobtail ring, making spirits bright. What fun it is to ride and sing a sleighing song tonight. Oh, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Hey, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. A day or two ago, I thought I'd take a ride, and soon Miss Fanny Bright was seated by my side. The horse was lean and lame, misfortune seemed his lot. He got into a drifted bank and then we got upset. Oh, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Hey, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh.
every year I see so many cute Christmas garland pieces, and I decided to recreate one that I saw last year. So I started with some of these small wood slices that I buy on Amazon. I'll have them linked down below. And I'm just covering each of them front, side, and back with polyacrylic to prevent the wood from cracking. Next, I'm using a stencil. I believe I purchased it at Walmart, if not then Dollar Tree, and I'm just stenciling the letters on each of the wood slices to write out the words Merry Christmas. I know you didn't see that coming, right? I went back over each letter with a small paintbrush and touched up and filled in the gaps. For this next step, I used a pencil to sketch out a Christmas tree on 2 of the wood slices, and then I painted them with some Waverly chalk paint in the colors moss, celery, and just a little bit of Anita's earth brown paint. And just a tip, I did make sure to go over the pencil lines slightly with the paint, just so that they wouldn't show. And I also layered on the paint kind of thick so that it gives it more of the leafy vibes. I also achieved that two-tone paint simply because I didn't shake my paint and I took advantage of the separation. You could always use 2 different types of green though, so not a big deal. I used 2 types of jute string to create the hangers for each wood slice. Even though I don't show it here because I'm a goofball and I didn't record it, first I used the thicker jute string that I purchased at Walmart. I strung it through the hole and I tied the first half of the bow. After I completed the first half of the bow, I just placed a string of the thinner jute string from Dollar Tree, and then I finished off the bow and trimmed the edges. You could always do it the way that I pictured, but it is definitely more complicated that way. Last year I found this amazingly cute buffalo check ribbon at Michael's on sale for, I think it was like $2, and I'm going to put it to use today. So I cut a long piece out and I just tied each of the wood slices to it, and I think it turned out perfect. I probably used the entire thing actually. For this next project, I'm finally using one of these framed canvas kits I bought on clearance at Michael's like 2 years ago. I'm trying to use up everything in my stash because it's looking a little chaotic here, I'm not gonna lie. So we do need to use some stuff up, and I've been hoarding this item forever. Does anybody else have items that you just don't think are good enough? Like that project's not good enough to use this item because it's a rare item, so you just keep hoarding it and you never really make something out of it? That is this for me. Now I want to warn you, this project actually didn't turn out how I expected. It did not, the DIY didn't work out how I planned, but I feel like I was able to save it from a horrible death, so in my book, it's a win. So I printed out this image that I found online, and I will put the link to it below, and I just thought it was so cute and perfect, and I thought I'd try to transfer the image onto the canvas. So I painted on a thick layer of Mod Podge over the canvas, and I laid the image down over it. I used my vinyl smoother to get rid of most of the air bubbles. There were a couple left over, but it wasn't a big deal. And then I laid it aside to dry for 24 hours. While this was drying, I stayed the wood twice. So the first stain wasn't the color I imagined it would be, so I went back over it with Minwax Early American, and then I let that dry. The next day, 24 hours later, I did all the things. I wet the paper. I waited a little while for for the water to soak in the paper, and then I gently rubbed it off with water and finger. Mind you, I have done this in the past, not with canvas, but with wood, and I've never had an issue with it, and it totally flopped. This is what I was left with after removing all of the paper, to which I thought,
maybe there's still some hope. The next few moments consisted of me grabbing random Cricut markers, paint markers, Sharpie markers, paintbrushes, really anything that I could find, and I just was going over all the lines of the printout until it finally looked decent again, and then I sealed it with Mod Podge and I attached it to the canvas, or I attached the canvas to the frame with my electric staple gun. For this last project, I traced a dinner plate and cut out 3 circles from a piece of poster board from Dollar Tree. Next, I measured out where the middle was and I cut a small hole out of the center of the 2 circles. The last circle, I just cut a straight line all the way up to the center and I wrapped it to make a cone. I'm so sorry, I must have lost all the footage of that. I used 4 of these wooden dowels purchased from Dollar Tree, and I believe they're 12 inches long, and I also had a wooden cube left over from Christmas last year. I stained them all with Minwax stain in Early American, and I hot glued the dowels together. I used a drill bit and my favorite tool to drill a hole in the center of the block, and then I just hot glued the dowels into the cube. I cut some coffee filters and I folded them in a pleat pattern, and then I hot glued them around each cone. I did run into a little issue. One of the holes in the cones were too large, so I cut a small circle in the center of some Play-Doh lids that I had just thrown away. I hot glued them inside of the cones, and then I hot glued the cones to the dowels. Does that make sense? I thought it was pretty clever. And then to finish it off, I just took 2 of these laser cut stars from Dollar Tree and I hot glued them to the top of the tree, and voila! All these projects were super fun to make. They weren't too complicated. I encourage you to make some of your own because it's really fun. I'm getting really festive and jolly over here, and it's a good time. I hope you are having a wonderful, amazing day today. So I'm starting out with a small 2.5-inch wood slice ornament, and I'm going to seal it on both sides with Mod Podge. While that was drying, I cut and weeded some stencil vinyl with a cute design that I made on my Cricut. I will have these available for purchase as a digital download as well as actual cut vinyl. You can see the link in the description box below if you're interested. I measured out to find the center and drew 2 horizontal lines straight across. I filled in between the 2 lines with 2 coats of DecoArt Americana acrylic paint in the color Primary Blue. Once that was dry, I laid on my stencil, removed the transfer tape, and painted it using a makeup sponge. Just a tip when painting over a stencil, I find that it doesn't bleed as much if you do a light coat first, let it dry, and then go in with another layer and even a 3rd layer. I'd actually rather spend a few minutes waiting for it to dry than to take off the whole stencil and see that it bled everywhere, because that's just the pits. Next, I added a simple jute string hanger and it's ready to give out. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you feel inspired to create. Have a wonderful and beautiful day.